In the year 2847, humanity was standing at the edge of defeat. For 20 long years, they had been fighting a powerful alien race known as the Zirath. The war had taken everything, cities, planets, and hope. But among soldiers, an old story still traveled from one ship to another, a story about a lost warship. They called it the Ark of Steel. It was said to be the most advanced human ship ever built, strong enough to destroy entire fleets. But official records claimed it was destroyed 200 years ago, deep in unknown space. Most people believed it was only a legend, a bedtime story for tired soldiers. Yet somewhere in the silence of the dead sectors, something strange began to happen. Young officer Lieutenant Arik Dalen, working on a patrol ship, started receiving weak energy signals from a forgotten region called Sector 9. The signals repeated like a heartbeat, soft, slow but steady. When Arik reported it to command, they ignored him. Just interference, they said. But Arik couldn't shake the feeling that the signal was calling him, guiding him toward something that should not exist. One night, as he sat alone watching the data flicker, he whispered to himself, "If the Ark of Steel is real, it's still out there." And in that quiet moment, far beyond the edge of known space, a light blinked once, deep inside an ancient, silent ship buried under centuries of dust and rock. The legend was about to wake. Lieutenant Arik Dalen couldn't forget that strange heartbeat signal. For days, it kept echoing in his mind like a whisper from the stars. Finally, he made a choice and he would go there himself. He gathered a small team of explorers and flew toward Sector 9, a dead zone where no ship had ever returned. The journey was long and silent. Space there felt heavy, almost alive. The closer they got, the stronger the signal became. One steady pulse. Again and again. "It's guiding us," one of the crew said softly. "Or warning us," Arik replied. After hours of searching through floating rocks and wreckage, they saw it. A massive shadow hidden behind an asteroid field. Their scanners couldn't read it, as if it refused to exist. Slowly, their lights touched its surface. What they saw made their hearts stop. It was a ship, bigger than any human vessel, covered in layers of dust and broken metal. Ancient symbols glowed faintly on its hull. The name was barely visible under the rusted plates, Ark of Steel. The crew stood in silence. The impossible had been found. Then the ship's lights flickered one by one. Power systems started to hum. The air trembled. A deep voice broke through their radio, full of static and age. Identification. Confirmed. Human command detected. Arik froze. This was no ghost. This was a warship, alive after centuries of sleep. The legend had just answered. The moment that voice echoed through the ship, everyone froze. For a few seconds, there was only the hum of ancient power coming back to life. The crew stared at each other in disbelief. Lieutenant Arik took a deep breath. "We're going in," he said quietly. They suited up and entered through a cracked airlock. The corridors inside were long and dark, filled with dust and floating debris. Every step they took echoed like footsteps in a graveyard. Dim blue lights flickered on as they moved deeper. The ship seemed to recognize them. Screens came alive with old data, and symbols glowed on the walls. It felt less like a machine and more like something breathing. "This ship, it's waiting for us," whispered one of the engineers. When they reached the control bridge, the lights burst on completely. In the center, a tall hologram appeared, a glowing figure made of shifting light. "I am Echo 9, it said. "Primary AI of the Ark of Steel. Mission incomplete. Humanity must survive." Arik stepped closer. "You've been asleep for 2 centuries, he said. "Time irrelevant," replied the AI. "Threat still active." Suddenly, warning alarms flashed red across the bridge. The ship's sensors detected movement. Something approaching fast. Outside the ship, in the silent dark, alien drones began to appear, hundreds of them, circling like vultures. The crew had found the Ark of Steel, but now, someone else had found them. The red alarms filled the silent corridors with a warning hum. Arik's crew ran to the bridge windows, and what they saw turned their blood cold. Hundreds of Zirath drones were closing in, glowing like small suns in the darkness. Their scanners locked onto the Ark's position. "The aliens had found them. We have to leave," shouted the pilot. "Too late," said Arik. "They're already here." Echo 9's voice echoed calmly through the ship. "Activating defense protocols. Reinitializing core systems. The bridge shook as the old engines came alive. The arc of steel woke up like a sleeping beast. Giant metallic plates unfolded from its sides. Cannons that hadn't fired in 2 centuries began to glow with blue light. Outside, the first alien drones fired. Plasma blasts hit the hull, but instead of breaking, the ship absorbed the energy. Charging brighter. Energy shields operational, said Echo 9. Engaging hostiles. A flash of blue light erupted from the ship's cannons. The entire asteroid field exploded with light. Dozens of drones vanished in seconds. The crew could only watch in awe. "It's fighting by itself," whispered Arik. "No," replied Echo 9. "It is fighting for you." More alien reinforcements arrived, forming a dark swarm around them. The Ark's power surged higher, pushing back with ancient force. Then a transmission reached Earth Command and a voice they never expected to hear. Arc of Steel. Operational. Engaging hostiles. For the first time in 200 years, the lost warship had returned to battle, and the galaxy had just felt its roar. The message from the Arc of Steel spread through every human command center like wildfire. Arc of Steel operational. Engaging hostiles. For a moment, the entire fleet went silent. Commanders who had heard the name only in stories stood frozen. Soldiers stared at their screens, unable to believe what they were seeing. The myth was real. Lieutenant Arik's crew watched from the bridge as the Ark tore through the Zerath drones with unstoppable force. But the AI's tone changed. Warning, massive enemy fleet detected. Arrival in 6 hours, it wasn't over. The drones were only scouts. The main Zerath armada, thousands of warships, he knew was coming. Arik turned to Echo 9. "Can we run?" "No, we fight. My purpose is to defend humanity, at any cost." The Ark sent a coded pulse across the stars, a call to all human ships still able to fight. Within hours, small fleets began to appear from hyperspace. Old ships, damaged cruisers, even civilian carriers, all answering the signal. Humanity was gathering behind the lost legend. The Ark's engines burned brighter than any star. Echo 9 began activating ancient weapons never seen before. Energy surged through the ship's hull, lighting it like a burning sun. "They are coming," said Arik quietly. "Then we will stand," replied Echo 9. As the first alien battleships entered the system, every human ship turned its weapons forward. In that moment, surrounded by darkness and fear, hope returned, in the shape of a myth reborn. The alien armada arrived like a storm of fire. Thousands of Zerath warships filled the sky, covering the stars with red light. The human fleet stood small before them, but behind every ship burned a new hope, the Arc of Steel. Inside the bridge, Lieutenant Arik watched the radar screens flood with enemy signals. His heart pounded, but his voice was steady. "Echo 9, let's finish this." The ancient AI responded calmly, its voice deep and powerful. "Acknowledged. All systems on full power. For humanity." The Ark's massive cannons charged until the whole ship glowed like a rising sun. A single blast ripped through the center of the Zerath line, tearing entire ships apart. The humans cheered, their fear replaced by courage. But the aliens struck back. Hundreds of beams hit the Ark at once. The ship shook violently, metal screaming, systems failing. Sparks filled the bridge. "Hull damage critical," said Echo 9. "We can't stop now," Arik shouted. The AI paused and then spoke softly. "You are right. But this is where I end." Echo 9 redirected all remaining power to the core. The Ark began to shine brighter and brighter until even the stars faded. Then, with one final surge, the ship unleashed a blinding wave of energy, wiping out the Zerath fleet in an instant. Silence followed. When the light faded, only wreckage drifted among the stars. Humanity had survived. Arik stared at the empty space where the Ark once was. A quiet voice echoed through his headset, a faint, broken yet peaceful. "Mission complete. Humanity safe." The myth had become truth, and the legend of the Ark of Steel would never be forgotten.